we'll get started here in just a minute. The beauty of this is if things don't always work out like we think they should, then we can come back and redo it or tweak things for tomorrow for sure. So
Okay.
what I'm going to do real quick for you is, because you didn't get that email, I'm going to drop the link to the workbook in the chat.
Okay.
At least I think I'm going to do that. So
or I could look at it later after.
That is true.
You can send it to me.
That's true. I think I can do it right here. That'll be good, because then if somebody goes back and watches the replay where they did not get registered for the class, then they'll be able to see that workbook as well, because it works with we're going to go through that workbook and the content at the same time. So, and I'm trying not to have too much of a glare on my glasses. So we'll see how that works. I bet you can attest to that one, right?
Yeah.
So I would like to welcome everybody. My name is Katie Jordan. I am the founder of Butterfly Tribe Blueprint. And today we're going to be going through Path to Peace. And I just want to give you guys a little bit of my backstory and where I came from and how or where we're at today. This class is meant to be interactive. If you're watching the replay later, you can always post questions. I'm more than happy to answer those. The beauty of the Facebook group as well is others can chime in with their experiences as well. I just hit the desk. So, like I said, I'm the founder of Butterfly Tribe Blueprint, and Butterfly Tribe Blueprint was born out of a lot of grief, a lot of hurt. And how many of you can relate to that grief, the hurt, the anger? I would not like to say anger, but hey, let's just be real. It was there, right? So let's see, 4 years ago, I lost 4 years ago this month, I lost my oldest sister to brain cancer. I, at that point, also kind of knew my marriage was not in a good place. Fast forward a couple months later, well, actually a year later, then we decide to sell the house and move into separate places. Well, then all of the emotions and everything just sets in. You know, if you go from being with your children or child all the time to having them 3 or 4 days a week, that's a big adjustment, right? I remember crying myself to sleep every day. And I just felt this pit like, oh my gosh, is it ever going to get better? Am I ever going to be better through all of this as well? And I had started a little bit of self growth, if you will, before the separation. Well, what the separation into different places did was, okay, Katie, and this goes for any of you guys, we have two choices when we're faced with life's challenges, right? I could have stayed in bed, been depressed, and not felt like I had anything to live for, move forward for, right? But I knew my daughter was 4 at the time, and I knew that I had to do something, or she was just going to see mommy sad all the time, you know? And at first I didn't want her to see that. And now I can look back and reflect, and it's like we can go through those emotions because it teaches her that they're normal, right? And if we normalize our emotions, then our kids know, hey, that's okay for me to have those emotions too. We always joke, we're always like, okay, you can have the emotion, but don't stay in the emotion. Okay. So as I'm starting to make this decision, I'm like, okay, she has a mom that needs her, plus that mom needs herself. And when I say that, what I mean is, how many of you have lost yourself through life, right? Through what society says we should be doing, who we should be, how we should act, what we should do, you know? And then you wake up it feels like one day, you wake up and you are like, who am I? How many of you can relate to that where it felt like, yes, this happened over time, but one day you look and something happens and you're like, who am I? I don't even know what cereal I like in the morning. I don't generally eat cereal, so I wouldn't really know either, you know? Little things like that. I don't know how to take care of myself because I'm always too involved in taking care of everyone else. So, Path to Peace was born out of this because in the beginning, I also, this makes me sad, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it was where I was at. I sacrificed a lot to just try and keep what I thought was the peace in the divorce process. I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't, but that went hand in hand with not knowing myself and not knowing what I wanted or needed. So now we are in an amazing place where I am standing up for myself a lot more in the things that I know that I need. Not just because somebody else says, oh, this would be good for you, that will be good for you. No, it's because this is what is good for me and my daughter. Does that mean it's an easy thing all the time? No. Okay. So today and tomorrow, we are going to go over 3 of the 7 steps that there are in Path to Peace. And you guys, this is really kind of a 2-part. Today and tomorrow is a free class that will lead into an offer to continue to work with me for the next 90 days if you so choose to, and dive deeper into what those 7 steps are, how you implement them, and how you move forward to create a life that you look forward to. Because how many of us can say we always look forward to waking up in the morning and doing whatever is on our magic list? Not all of us, right? I was at that point at one time where I couldn't either. So today we're going to go, well, we'll tell you what we're going to go through in the big scheme of things, and then we'll go back to breaking that down for today. So the 7 steps that are in the Path to Peace are emotional healing, clarity, empowerment, and confidence. That's a fun word, right? Confidence. And then the continuation after those 3 is effective coping, rebuilding relationships, goal setting, and an action plan. And then this one is one of my favorites, is a life reinvention. If you would have told me 3 years ago, right? If you would have told me 3 years ago that my life today would look like it does and feel like it does, I would have been like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm going to give somebody else this link real quick. So what that looks like in 3 different years, 3 years is huge. What I want to give to you ladies is not that 3-year plan. I want to help you condense that and get on the fast track to that reinvention and going on those trips or being able to just be present in the moment. Okay. That is where life really begins, right? Because not everybody gets the chance to start over. I don't know why this is not. Okay. So we will go through all of those things. And then you guys are also going to hear me refer to the workbook. I put that in the chat right now as well. But let's go ahead and we are going to start today. You're like, yes, we are really just starting. That was just the introduction before. We are going to start this class today by looking at where we are today. Okay, so if you have that guide opened up, you'll see the first page is the Path to Peace page. The second page is the introduction of who I am, gives you a little bit of my backstory. The third page is your table of contents. And you guys, I really hope I'm going through those pages right. The third page is that table of contents. And then the fourth page you should see will be, actually, I have it swapped. The third page, you will see the Wheel of Life. Okay. Now, some of you have seen this before. Some of you have not. Okay. This is going to be used as a gauge for where am I at right now? Okay. Where am I right now in these different areas? Now, the beautiful thing of this is that these are not set in stone. Okay. So you will see the different categories. And with the different categories, if there is something else that you would like to work on at this current time, then put that in there. Okay. So if there's something on that Wheel of Life that maybe doesn't resonate with you right now, or you want to change it and you're like, you know what? Something that is really important to me right now is being able to, you guys, I can't even think outside the box right now because I'm looking at these 6 or these 8 that are on here and I'm like, well, that fits pretty much all of them. If you think of something else, let me know. You can also take away from those 8 because these are just examples. Okay. So what you're going to do with this, and this is going to be a little bit of your homework because sometimes it takes a little bit of pondering to what do I want to do? Okay. Now, on that left-hand side, your left, my right, you're going to see finances, personal growth, health, friends, relationships, recreation, spirituality, and then career. Okay. So what you'll do with this is you are going to rate. Okay. Every single one of these, you know what? I think we are going to rate every single one of these, okay? The beauty of this is you don't have to do it right now. What I am going to do is I'm going to share my screen real quick so that you guys can see where we're at, okay? Hopefully it doesn't share all the 9,000 things I have open behind that, okay? So, little bit of your homework for tonight will be go back. First of all, if you don't particularly want to include all 8 areas, mark a line through what you don't want to rate right now. Okay. So maybe relationships right now is not something that's important to you. Mark that out. But everything else, I want you guys to go through and put in the 0. 0 is like middle, nothing, right? From 1 to 10. All right. The reason we do this, you guys, is it gives us a great gauge of where you're starting at today. Okay. 10 being the most fantastic, outstanding it can be. There's not really any room for improvement. Let me tell you, the first time I did this, I was 3s and 4s on a lot of this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got a lot of work to do. Okay. So tomorrow we'll go back in and we'll do a little bit of a review to kind of see where you guys are at. But if we don't know where we start, how do we know where we're going to go? Right? All right. So next we're going to move on to the why we feel in a box, or why does society put us in a box? This is where I'm going to get a little audience participation. So all of you are going to get unmuted. Surprise. Bethany, if you can unmute as well. But how many or what are the things that you guys feel like have put you in a box in life? The beautiful thing of this is it's different for everyone, and there's not a right or wrong answer. So what do you ladies think has put you in a box or created some of that limiting beliefs and thought process? Whoever wants to share first.
I'll go ahead.
I'll-
Some of it is a lot of people think that there's nothing wrong. That's only in my head.
Now, how has that maybe slowed or made you look at yourself differently? Have you started to believe what other people are saying about you? I know you've done
Some
a
of
lot
it,
of
yeah.
work.
Some of it, yeah.
Right?
And
Bethany-
I kind of question
Yeah. We second guess and we do start to question ourselves like, am I wrong in this? Is this really happening? Is it not? Right? Well, and that's part of what building that confidence is, right? So that you are strong enough in yourself to know that moving forward, hey, I believe in these decisions. I know that this is the right decision for me and my family. Because sometimes we got to get rid of those people that are the naysayers in life. And that's easier said than done sometimes. So, Bethany, do you have anything you would like to add to that as well?
Yeah, actually, so I had a very kind of different family dynamic, and I was raised mostly by generations of women who by one way or another had become single and kind of bitter. So there was an interesting expectation about the need to be a strong, independent woman. But then also there were a lot of underlying traditional values that just brought a lot of expectations for what my future should look like. And it took well into my 20s before I was able to kind of break out of the box from my family and kind of create my own path. And in that, I've had to pretty much disconnect from my entire family because it's just not the family dynamic that is accepting of people going outside of what's expected. And so that's been hard but beautiful also, because in that journey of letting go, I have found myself. and continue to do so more each day. And so even though it's hard, it's just, I don't think we can survive if we're trying to force ourselves into a box that doesn't fit.
Bethany, you brought some tears to my eyes.
Aw.
And it's in a good way, because I'm sitting here just thinking about myself, and it's a similar situation to some of that. But I am not finding this until my 40s. And I'm like, sometimes I look back and I'm like, why? Because I've had these huge people pleasing tendencies. And I like to say I am now a reforming people pleaser, because guess what? It's not about everybody else, right? It is
Right.
about us. And part of being in that box is being a people pleaser. And you don't know how to say no. You don't know how to set boundaries. You, let alone think about figuring out what's good for yourself outside of what that dynamic is that you were used to. Right. And
Sometimes you're not even allowed to ask what you need. Like, that's not even on anyone's radar. You're not allowed to have a need because you're not that level of individual in some people's eyes and minds. Yeah.
well, and the other part of that is that you're not allowed to show emotion.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's weak.
Yeah. How many of us, I have really started being, hey, I'm an emotional person. And if I'm going to cry on here, you guys, I'm just going to tell you I'm going to cry. And I'm not going to apologize for that either, because that's a true, genuine feeling. And that's part of what this whole path to peace is allowing women to be okay with feeling those different emotions and moving through them. Okay. So, and this, you guys, goes right in hand. So we're in the first section of this, which is the emotional healing. And we've talked about the different emotions that have come up in the boxes that society puts us in, that our family puts us in. And it's quite amazing when your awareness is heightened, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that answer. That answer is not who I am.
I think
So,
it starts with being honest with yourself about what you need first, and then you learn to advocate for your needs.
right. But part of that is like, I went through, what are my needs?
Mm-hmm.
How do you even discover what your own needs are when you're so accustomed to everybody else telling you what you need?
Right.
And that is, it's a very interesting place to be. And you can also, this is that step back and look at, how am I going to write the next chapter in my life? You know, and I wish I could say there was a magic wand that I can wave and everybody would be okay and we would know what's coming next. But the truth of it is, there is no magic wand. There are these steps you can do that will help move you towards that. But you have to be in a place where you're ready to start taking those steps to move forward. Okay. So we're going to jump back over here into the workbook for just a second. After the Wheel of Life, then you will see kind of our table of contents. Okay. And that one is acknowledging and affirm those emotions. Now, when I'm talking about that, you guys, that does not mean only negative emotions. It is okay to allow ourselves to find some of that happiness through this. Okay. The second one we're going to touch on here in just a little bit is that seek support and connection. The third part of emotional healing is engage in self-care practices. I think we can all agree. And if you don't know yet, you will know here soon how important that is to yourself and how you show up for others. Okay. So step 2 is the clarity piece. And we're going to go into a little bit of the clarity today, but we'll do most of the clarity and empowerment and confidence tomorrow. Okay, so take a moment. We're going to acknowledge where we've come from. And then the second part of that is clarify or clearly defining your values and priorities. This is always interesting. And this is interesting for me, even though I've done this several different times. It's like, what do I value? Do I value this because I personally value it? Or do I value it because somebody else tells me I should value it? That's a whole different beast to unpack there. All right. And then embrace self-compassion in your daily routine. That one I love because I am a very compassionate person to other people, but not so much when it comes to myself. Okay. The third step is going to be the empowerment and the confidence, clarifying what empowerment entails, its impacts and its limits. The second one is using I am statements to boost your confidence. So that's going to work into that. And then the third one is consistently taking small steps towards achieving their goals. Okay. Now, we are going on to page 5 of your workbook, seeking support and connection. How many of you feel like where you're at, sometimes you feel alone? Do you feel like you're on an island and nobody else can relate? Yeah, you guys, I didn't even tell my family I was separated for like 4 or 5 months after we sold our house and moved out. Because I was not in a place emotionally where I felt like I wanted to deal with any questions or anything like that. So I got myself in a stronger place and then said, hey, this is what's going on. Okay. So the seek support and connection, you guys, that's why this is important, because it lets us know I am truly not on an island by myself. And even though social media gets such a rap, you guys, that there's such a beautiful side to it too. Because the 3 of us right now are in very different places of the country. It allows us to build those connections over time and space where we may not have ever met each other, right? And I have some amazing women in my support network who I've never met. Others I've had the opportunity to meet, but we didn't meet face to face first. So if you are not a part of Women Supporting Women, the Facebook group, you guys, that's a great place that people can go and ask questions. And then also, sometimes you just gotta vent, all right? And it's a safe place to do that and ask for help, all right? Now, we're gonna go from the seeking support. Let's go ahead and you can scroll down into the next page of that workbook, because it's going to take us to engaging in self-care practices. There was a while, you guys, I had no idea what the heck a self-care practice was, because I was so inundated with what everybody else thought. Right? So in the chat, or you guys can unmute yourselves and tell me if you have self-care practices now, or if you would like to start a self-care practice, if you even know what a self-care practice is, let's chat about that for just a second.
So in my opinion, there's big self-care practice and little self-care practice. So what I mean by that is there's little things. So when I was in my deepest depression and struggling the most, during, kind of the low point after my first divorce, I had a really hard time just maintaining daily things for myself, the house and myself, hygiene wise, doing chores, running errands, all of that. So one of the things I think as little self-care is, doing my hair, making sure I'm taking care of myself by taking a shower. And, I have a nice tub. I like to take long soaking baths, but the big self-care stuff is kind of treating myself to the things that I really enjoy doing. So like I will, and that might cost money. So I will take myself to a painting class with a friend, or I just went to the ballet last week with a friend. And so going to do something like that for myself with friends, that is maybe a little bit of a splurge. I consider those big self-care items, and I think you need a balance of both to kind of, take care of yourself properly.
Yes, I agree. Diana, what are some of your self-care routines or traditions or whatever you want to call them?
Well, I'm kind of a newbie, but like
That's
the
okay.
small small one that she was talking about is like, yeah, your normal hygiene, showering and doing your hair, or just a little bit of blush or something here and there, just to make you feel special, or some lip gloss. And the big one, to take time to go for like a walk, to get outside and get some vitamin D. Especially when I have dogs, so they need to exercise anyway. um,
Serves as a
and
dual
once in a
purpose.
while, yeah. And then like I like going to the stores and whatnot, and just kind of seeing little projects to
Uh-oh,
um
we're having a hard
it
time hearing.
relaxes. Getting crafts like at the store, dollar stores, and that relaxes me. The little things like that.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a culmination of those little things that make the biggest difference in our lives, right? Like, I know for me, sometimes a hot shower is like the perfect self-care for me, because maybe I don't have time for a bath, but I spend a couple minutes extra in that hot shower. And it feels like you can also just kind of release and let things go, right? So I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit in this. I am by no means saying that this is what your routine has to look like. I used to say morning routine, but for some people, morning routine's not going to happen, right? Because I generally am up between 4 and 5 every morning. My body even tells me sometimes, hey, it's time to wake up. And I'm like, no, but that's what happens. And my routine looks like I do a morning meditation. So in this next sheet in your worksheet, we're going to go over that a little more. I also do some intention setting, like things that I want to happen during the day, how I want to feel. And when you approach the day with a different type of mindset than maybe what you have in the past, it makes the world of difference, right? So, with that being said, on top of the intention setting, then there's also I am statements. We'll dive into that more tomorrow. And then gratitude statements. And you guys, it's really for me right now where I'm at in my life, like a 15-minute morning routine. Because then I go into working on business things, setting up this class for you guys. And that is because I know myself well enough that I'm a morning person. And I want my business to have the best part of me. And that is early in the morning. Because if I go to work and then I come home and want to work on my business, it just is not, it's not the same. Because I don't know what might have happened at work that might have been emotionally draining or things like that, because I support people all through my workday as well. So when I'm talking self-care, you guys, be mindful of what is your best time of day. Okay, so I want you to think about it this way. Okay, for just a second, let's close our eyes. You guys are going to think this might be a little cruel and unusual punishment here, but close your eyes for just a second. Your alarm, whatever it sounds like, is going off in the morning. Mine has some beautiful music. Okay, now I want you to think about when that alarm went off, how did you feel? Did you feel energized and ready to start the day? Or did you dread the day? You can share in the chat if you want, or you can just kind of make a mental note. That is really going to help you understand more about yourself and where you should be looking at doing a morning routine or a day routine or a night routine. Okay? So I don't mind the alarm. Most of the time I'm up before the alarm. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking for. Okay, so let's go over into our workbook, because one of the things I never thought, I always thought kind of growing up and stuff that meditation was kind of this woo-woo thing and, only people who, I don't know what I thought, but I never saw myself as a person who does a daily meditation before I started listening to some of these amazingly successful people. And when I say successful people, I mean not only are we talking financially, but in their personal lives and in the lives of their children and in the lives of the people that they make an impact with. Everybody is taking a certain amount of time, which depends on however much they have or they want to, put forth to that. And they are doing meditation. Okay. So in your workbook, you're going to see that definition of a meditation. Okay. The practice of focusing your attention one single point of reference. Okay. So you can focus on your breath, a word or a phrase. Okay. Focusing on the present. I'll also tell you guys in this regard, I use an app for a meditation, or sometimes even at night. This is part of my routine as well. At night, I put on ocean waves or some other kind of music to really just calm my mind, because to me, the ocean is taking away all of the craziness of the day. All right. So benefits to that meditation are it reduces stress, okay? Controls anxiety, promotes emotional health, and enhances self-awareness. When you kind of give your brain the opportunity to start over, to reset, then you will notice a difference in how your day goes or how your evening goes as well. Okay. Now, in the workbook, you guys will also see what things do you enjoy doing for self-care. That's another thing that you can kind of do at your own leisure as well. So today we have went over so far, we have went over the emotional healing section. And with that, we're going to jump into just a little bit of clarity today because our time is almost up and I want to be respectful of your time. And then if you guys have some questions, you can ask those as well. All right, so we're going to scroll down to page number 7. And this is probably going to be a little bit more on, so there are 2 things I want you guys to do before tomorrow, because this is really going to give you an idea of this is my starting. Okay, so I want you to go back and I want you to look at that wheel of life. Okay, and I want you to rate that 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. Okay, so with that being said, you're going to do that. And then there is a second portion of that that is the where are you at right now? Okay, now I'm going to give you guys some ideas for where am I at right now. Okay, when you look at this, you want to, okay, am I sad? Am I happy? You're kind of just processing through or writing through the emotions. Okay, so right now, this is going to dive into a little bit more of this and help you guys kind of decide where you're at in life. And this is really, we're going to talk about the grief cycle here for just a second, because that in itself has really helped me to process through the divorce and other areas of grief that I've had a lot of, it feels like. Okay, so those 5 stages of grief that we're going to talk about are denial. Let me tell you about denial. I was there for a long time. I kept holding out hope, thinking, oh my gosh, whatever I'm trying, something's bound to work, right? Unfortunately, fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, that is what helped me get to where I am today. Okay, so that's, like I said earlier, that's why I didn't tell my family either, because I was in denial. And if we got back together, I didn't want them to think any differently of him, and then all that blah, blah, blah stuff. Okay, now the second one is anger. How many of you can say, I have been, or I am currently in the anger stage? You guys, it's okay. If you are, it's a natural part of what you're going through. I will give you a perfect example, and you guys are going to laugh, because I remember almost specifically one instance where I knew I was in the anger stage of grief. I can't even tell you what triggered it, but I remember, and I can tell you where I was at driving in the road. I'm not saying this was a good decision because I was driving, okay? I was so angry. I was yelling in my car, driving, and on my way to work, okay? I was yelling at my ex, and I let him have it.
Oh, there you go. Good job.
But yeah, you guys, those of you that know me, I am probably, this was part of the demise of the marriage, was I am not confrontational. But now looking back, it really kind of makes me chuckle, because I'm like, wow, I can't remember that specific details about a lot of things, but I can tell you I was at not that far from where I live at a stop sign, turning the corner, and I remember yelling. I don't even think it was a stop sign at that point because they just put the stop signs in. Guys, it's okay to go through some of that. Okay? Did I want to stay there as that angry person? Heck no. I didn't even realize at the time that that's literally what I was going through, was the grief cycle. Okay? We have all just briefly touched on this a little bit too. The fourth one is the depression side. That is, what do I have to live for? Why do I have to go on? Now, the depression can hit people in very different ways. Bethany just gave us a great example of that earlier, how I didn't even want to get out of bed. The small wins were getting out of bed, taking that shower, moving forward in the day, right? All right, here's the magic number 5 step, and the one we all want to be at, and so we can just move on with our lives. And I'm not going to say pretend it didn't happen, but that's sometimes what you feel like, right? The 5th one is the acceptance. I think my acceptance came the day we got, actually, I think my acceptance came the day I signed the divorce papers and handed them back to him. Because at that point, I was just like, I can't just be one person trying. Everybody is going to have a different point of acceptance. Some people's comes real early on. Some people doesn't come until maybe even after they're officially divorced, right? So once we recognize those things in that grief cycle, it can definitely help us be aware of what may be coming next or how we can move through those, right? Okay. So we are still kind of in that self-care portion, and really that grief cycle does help in the self-care portion because of the fact that when you recognize that it is a form of self-care, it's a weird, I mean, I don't think you would normally think of moving through a grief cycle as self-care, but it really is, because you can get stuck at one stage and not want to move on to another, right? So, benefits of self-care. Ooh. If you are taking care of yourself first, is that selfish? No. Taking care of yourself first is not selfish. Because guess what? When you take care of yourself first, and I'm telling you this firsthand because I'm better at this. I'm by no means perfect, but I'm better. Okay. What that means is when I take care of myself, guess what? I show up as a better mother, a better friend, a better coach for sure, because how am I going to help you guys if I'm not getting my cup filled too? You can't. Because if you continue to try to do that, guess what that builds? It builds resentment. Now, who in the world wants to be resentful of themselves, their life, or the people that they love? Not me. But let me tell you, there is something more, nothing more freeing than when you take care of yourself and you can pour that out into others. Okay? Yeah. It is time for us to take care of ourselves, pour into our own cups first. All right? Now, I think we are at a good place to I'm gonna have to work out some technology things after we get off here today to make sure people are getting the PDF and getting the Zoom link and everything so that you guys have what you need, okay? With that being said, so we have went over that emotional healing. Is emotional healing gonna happen overnight? No. But when you guys take those small, consistent steps, because sometimes the small, consistent step looks that big, and sometimes it's this big. And sometimes you'll go back the other way. But continuing to do those small things like taking care of yourself, surrounding you with people that love and support you. You guys, sometimes the best people for that are not the people who are related to you by blood. What? Yeah. It's true. And I firmly believe everybody needs that one person in their life, well, at least one person that will call them on their BS, but then allow you to call them on theirs. And it's a two-way street. And guess what? It makes a beautiful friendship and it makes it even stronger. Okay. And then the last one is that just processing through those emotions. Your feelings are your feelings. Okay. I had a hard time with this because I was like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. My situation is not as bad as so-and-so's. We are diminishing our own feelings that way. You guys, don't do that to yourself. It is okay for you to feel what you're feeling. Okay? That doesn't make it wrong. All right. Well, on that note, tomorrow we are going to go through clarity and then the empowerment and confidence stages. We're going to get some of these little kinks worked out as well. And if you guys have any questions or anything you think I should have added, addition, subtractions, please let me know that as well. Or maybe not even that, it's something that you're curious or you want to know more about. But tomorrow we'll go over those last couple of stages. And I appreciate you ladies for taking time out of your busy days and joining me. And I know that this is going to help you start moving in the right direction where things don't feel so overwhelming. That anger doesn't come as often. Or guess what? I've got this. This is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to get there. So I hope that you guys have an amazing afternoon, and I will be chatting with you all soon. Much love.
Bye, Katie. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.